So and I think it's about time I made, these are comments just about the ATEM Mini, about time I looked at what is it all about. Do you need it? Why don't I use it? Is it a waste of money? There's a few things as part of this. I'm going to make this into a full guide. I'll link you in the chapters. Just go to the section you're interested in. ATEM Mini. What is it? Why do you need it? Do you need it? Is it a waste of money? Well, this depends. So the ATEM Mini is designed as a switching type system. So if you notice in the back of the actual unit, it's got a few connection points. So you'll see this HDMI connections. What does that mean? You can use your camera. If it has a HDMI out, a clean HDMI out, you could put that via HDMI cable straight into this unit and it acts like a capture card. It turns that HDMI video signal of your camera into a digital signal the computer can use. In essence, that's what it is. So the ATEM Mini lets you do up to, depending on the model you've got, it lets you go up to between 4 and 8 input methods. So that reduces the amount of leads you'll need to plug directly to your computer. I think the main benefit here is if you're using a laptop and you've got one USB or one Type-C connection, or cameras or devices that give you video feed. So an example would be if I've got 4 HDMIs there, I could put 2 cameras, one camera in HDMI, I could put 2 camera in HDMI, I could put a 3rd camera in HDMI, and I could have a 4th video feed of a games console and show a gameplay scenario, and all of it would be controlled on the dashboard of the ATEM Mini. The buttons on the front, what do they mean? You've got numbers on there, 1, 2, 3, 4. When you click that button, it switches to that camera. So in example, I use my OBS in the similar way. I'll show you a separate video how I use OBS as a live switching software. So do you actually need an ATEM Mini? But I think you don't need it. If you're doing what I'm doing right now, which is a live, well, you can class this as a live stream. I'm doing this as one take. I'm using OBS as my source program. I'm using cheap capture cards to get the video from my multiple cameras into my computer. USB hub, USB 3 hub, and all of it's actually fairly cheap considering the cost you'll pay for one of those ATEM Minis, £340. Half of that I can get 2 HDMI capture cameras, camcorders, which is what I use, cables and capture cards, and plug it into my computer. You can buy cameras, you can buy capture cards, you can buy cables, and then use OBS to set up your live stream. You can set up a virtual camera in OBS, which allows you to be using that feed on Teams, Skype, Zoom, Discord, anywhere. So actually all these sources you have set up, all the screens you have set up, you could use in different programs as well. In a teaching environment, how good would it be if you were doing a team session and you had one camera and you're talking about something and you're like, okay, how about we look at this session today? You can have a PowerPoint presentation all at a click of a shortcut key. I'm actually using my keyboard here with shortcut keys. However, even better than that, you don't even need to set that up. Let me show you an additional option, advanced scene switcher in OBS. I click start on that right now, so I won't use my hands. Automatically, the screens will flip for me. Every 2 to 3 seconds, it'll flip between my selected scenes. I can set up those screens and scenes in advance. So now I'm hands-free. You can actually see a lot more of what is going on automatically without any issue, without having to spend £340 on a ATEM Mini. I'm kind of hating on it really, but I think based on people commenting and telling me that it's the be-all and end-all and it's like the excellent, something that's going to help them live stream. I think once you get it and you use it, you'll actually see the limitations of it based on how much you spent on it. And also the setup, because if you've got different locations, you can't keep setting that up with multiple leads. I'm lucky in the case that everything here stays here. And once it's set up, I use it regularly and I can just do it at a click of a button. I could even live stream with it. So this is ATEM Mini and explaining around how, why I don't think you need one, the alternatives, which is basically OBS with other cameras set up with HDMI sources. If you have an ATEM Mini, let me know what your workflow is below in the comments. I'll be interested to see how you use it, because I think you can actually do a free setup with OBS if you're on Windows, and you can use a USB hub with multiple cheap capture cards that I talked about before and get the same thing. Because you can actually switch automatically between OBS screens and do the exact same thing that you would do with a switcher. So why? Yeah, anyway, so let me go into this and explain what I think people are using this for. So if you have a laptop, you've got one input on your laptop. Like a lot of the newer laptops, the Mac brand seems to be going down this route where you have limited connections. People are using this switcher as a type of USB hub. You have multiple USB inputs. However, this does HDMI capture multiple sources. So for example, if you're looking at this, you'll see behind the unit, you've got on this example 4 HDMI ins, which means you can put 4 different cameras or other HDMI sources into your computer and use them in a live stream. For example, that could be one camera. That's another same camera but resized. You can do picture-in-picture mode. You can use multiple cameras like I've got here set up, and that I use OBS for. So do you even need a HDMI switcher is a great question. That's why I'm asking you to comment and let me know what you're using it for. So I think if you have a standard setup and you're using it in a regular spot like I do, I always stream from this location, I could have that set up on my desk. In theory, it'll reduce the amount of HDMI capture cards I need. For example, at the moment, if I have 4 cameras, I would use 4 HDMI capture cards into a USB hub into my computer. I've got a Windows computer, I've got plenty of USB sockets, I can do that. However, I do understand if some people have limited connectivity. How about you look at getting a hub which have multiple connections? It'll work out a hell lot cheaper than getting a Mini. The Mini does offer some additional options because you can add audio sources in there. So for example, if you were a DJ and you wanted to add musical sources in there, would it be better for you to have the HDMI Mini, the ATEM Mini even? I don't think so. I use a mixing board, I use OBS, I can put multiple sources into my computer as microphones as well. I've got normally 2 mics set up here which I can use on my mixing board. So, and there's more versatility here because I can use it for podcasting and additional things as well. So this is more of like a thinking download element of me telling you about this. So I'll be interested to see why people are using the ATEM Mini. What is it doing for you that you can't do in other sources of open source software? I hoot on about OBS a lot, but it seems to be working for my workflow, which is why I can recommend it as being something that lets me create content easily, quickly, efficiently, also reduces the editing time needed. All these things are something you can think about. And why do you need an ATEM Mini? Here's a playlist. I've done quite a bit on this ATEM Mini now just to find out if I understand it correctly, because you might let me know in the comments something that I didn't know, and maybe I'll end up getting an ATEM Mini.